fitness means a lot to me, and fitness totally changed my life. And I believe that it has the power to change a lot of other people's life too. The way that they see themselves, the way that they figure out from a physical standpoint, how much strength that they actually have, building community, meeting the people around you, motivating a stranger that's sitting next to you. Like, I just think for me, it's so much deeper than just a workout class. And I wish more people were like that.
You're listening to the Make Mental Podcast. You know, one thing I've learned while running Make Mental is that the conversations are the easy part. It's creating content and getting it out there that takes the most time and energy. That's why I started working with C3 Socials, and honestly, they have been a lifesaver. They've been running my Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for the past few months, and in just the last 90 days, over 350,000 people have visited my Instagram alone. But the numbers aren't even the best part. It is the time and energy that I've gotten back. Chandler, the owner, is super personable and always available. Seriously, it's crazy how hands-on she is. So if you're trying to grow your brand or just free up some headspace while getting results, check out C3 Socials. Tell them Make Mental sent you, because they've helped me tremendously, and I cannot recommend them enough. Imagine being told your body is working against you. Not temporarily, not just a bad week, but in a way that changes how you wake up, how you move, and honestly, how you see yourself. Today's guest knows that feeling intimately. She's a Chicago-based Pilates and sculpt instructor who has built a community through movement, but her journey into fitness did not start with aesthetics or ambition. It started with survival. After being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, she was forced to rebuild her relationship with her body from the inside out. What began as a fight for health became a mission to help others reconnect with theirs. Today's conversation is not just about fitness. It's about identity when your body changes. It's about mental resilience when the future feels uncertain. It's about learning to work with your body instead of against it. I'm very happy to welcome to the Make Mental Podcast, Anna. Thank you for joining us today.
Yay, that was a great intro. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? You are so much more than obviously an autoimmune disease, but you've graciously agreed to talk about that period of your life and how you continue with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. When we first connected and I thought about like talking about this, it used to be all I talked about really when I started in fitness. But now that I've grown so much in the fitness space, all of my fitness content is just about like what workouts to do and where I'm teaching and what I'm wearing. And so it's fun to kind of go back to how it all started. Let's see, I just finished my sophomore year of college at University of Iowa. I went home and this was 2021. So like right after the whole mess of COVID, vaccines were happening, and I'll never forget standing in my kitchen with my mom and my older brother. And my older brother was complaining about some like patchiness in his beard, some like bald spots in his beard. I'm like, that's so weird you say that, because I put my hair up the other day and I saw a little bald spot, thinking nothing of it. And I went to show it to my mom, and it had started as the size of like a penny probably and grown to the size of like a full fist. And so I don't know if I can curse, but my mom was like, holy shit,
Oh, you can.
We got to go get this checked out. And so that's kind of where it all started. We didn't really know anything of it at the time. And I think from a mental health perspective, there's a lot of, at least how I felt was like, this is horrifying. As, you know, as a woman, as a girl who is like, you know, you want to step your best foot forward, but I'm also like, can I really be complaining that much about just losing hair? Other people have it so much worse. So I was kind of going through this battle back and forth. I had went and seen a few doctors. Yeah, essentially they told me you have alopecia areata. We can't really do anything for it, but we can give you injections in your head. Usually if you get an autoimmune disease, you probably have another one that might come forward at some point in your life. And I knew this was a thing on my mom's side of the family, but I was just kind of like, what the hell do we do? And I'm really lucky that my mom was a huge advocate for me, and we went down a total holistic route where we were trying to heal me from the inside out. And so we both went on this crazy, crazy, crazy diet. I'm talking like wake up, have a piece of chicken, like maybe get some salad, some greens in there, but I couldn't have anything, dairy, gluten, sugar, anything, alcohol, anything. And so that summer was a huge struggle. I was supposed to be doing this internship at this real estate firm. I was kind of just going through the motions of like, are people looking at me? Can people tell that something is going on? Like, does my hair look okay? At the same time, with this crazy diet, I'm losing tons of weight, which is just natural when you cut out, all of those things. So I just looked sick. I felt super kind of like trapped in my own thoughts and body. And I just hated it. That was like one of the worst summers, probably the worst summer of my entire life. And so I got a gym membership and I just made that my routine. I didn't have much else of a routine. I'd wake up once a week, I'd go and I'd do this internship and I'd have my Celsius, I'd go to the gym, then I'd come home and I'd lay and watch reality TV, and that was my life. And so the gym really became kind of like my safe space during that time. And I'm a control freak. So I was like, you know what? I think I could teach people how to do this stuff. So then I got certified.
Yeah, you mentioned your brother was worried about patchiness in his beard.
Yeah.
As someone who, I mean, if you can't see, has a little bit of patchiness in their own beard, does he also have, what did you call it again? Alopecia?
Alopecia areata. So we had
Okay.
both, and I hate going down this like trail because I feel like it could sound political, but that's not what I mean. But we had just gotten the COVID vaccine, and there was a lot of unknowns about the COVID vaccine. And
Sure.
essentially, when you have autoimmune disease in your family, anything that comes into your body and causes inflammation can give you that reaction. It's like, I don't really know the genetics of it all, but I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it's like a gene that you do have or you don't have. And if something inflames your body, then it can happen. And so we kind of knew it was tied to that just on the basis of me and him getting the same one and both having issues. But my other brother got a different one and he got out scotch-free. So his was a lot less severe than mine was. But yeah, it was one of those situations where we were both just kind of like, what do we do?
Yeah, what do you remember about what do you remember most about the day you were diagnosed with it?
Well, I remember going first to my primary care doctor and him telling me it was scalp psoriasis. And I remember having the biggest sigh of relief. I went and got in the car with my mom and she said, well, thank God it's not alopecia. Like, can you imagine? And we both giggled and laughed, and then more of my hair started falling out. So I went and saw a dermatologist and they said, hey, so it actually is. Excuse me. So that was I know my mom was probably like, oh, damn, why did I say that? But for me, I was like, okay, my mom is concerned because she said that to me. And so now I'm super concerned. And I had gone to that appointment by myself. And I'm a neuroscience representative full time. So I spend a lot of time talking with doctors, a lot of time educating doctors on different topics. And so it's very cut and dry. But at that point in time, they just said like, hey, this is the remedy for it. We're going to give you, 30 shots in each of your spots on your head and it's going to be fine.
Wow.
So I left and I was super optimistic and called my mom. I was like, well, this is a really screwed up situation, but they said that this is going to help. And it was my mom that was the one that was like, we need to figure out how to get to the root of the problem. And so it kind of just went into this whirlwind of like, okay, let's figure it out. She found this diet. It seems like in hindsight, it wasn't that severe of a change. But for me, I remember we decided we were going to do this diet. It was called the autoimmune protocol diet. And once she cut everything out and we were both just left with the very basics of food, the very basics of food groups, couldn't really have much. I remember being like, well, I just want to go and eat like a damn turkey sandwich. Like, can't I just go? And she's like, no, you can't, or you can if you want to, but then we're going to have to deal with this problem. So it was very overwhelming. I had a lot of feelings of like, why is this happening to me? This kind of thing shouldn't be happening to me. Like, why of all people was I, diagnosed with this? What's happening? And honestly, I'm, again, so lucky to have had such a great advocate in my mom at that point in time, because I think she just snapped me out of it. And she was like, that's life, babe. Like, let's figure it out. Let's do it. And she did it with me. So I was very lucky. I didn't even have the time to really like be that sad about it. I just kind of had to go.
Yeah. Do you think that affected you, not having a grieving period?
I think so. I think that I most definitely built things up. And I, from the beginning, was embarrassed to talk about it. And I kind of kept all those feelings inside and I isolated myself a lot. I didn't talk to any of my college friends that summer. I had a boyfriend at the time. I was so embarrassed to talk to him about it. And I just didn't want to talk about it to anybody. I was just telling people I was on a diet and hopefully they couldn't, see that my hair was thinning. and then it
Yeah.
would come out in crazy ways. Like if I could see a new spot was coming, I would have a whole meltdown. And I mean, when you're that young and something like that happens and you don't know how to manage your emotions properly, it was a whole big thing. And my mom was like, maybe you should talk to a therapist. I did one session with a therapist and decided I don't need this. Like, this is situational. I'll be fine and then it'll be fine. And I really regret not having seen therapy through, like the number one candidate for therapy at the time.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because you mentioned not talking to your friends, but having your mom. Obviously, as a sophomore during COVID, we were
Yeah,
isolated as it was, right? We didn't necessarily, depending on where you went, but most of us didn't get to go back to our friends. And if we did, it was like, oh, you have to stay 6 feet apart. You're not supposed to hug.
right.
Like, no one knew what was going on. It was crazy. And then to add this on top of it is
Yeah.
another set of isolation. Did you just feel misunderstood at the time, or was your mom really your rock and really gave you all the understanding and help that you needed?
I think at the time there's so much uncertainty in it because I don't know what it's called, but alopecia areata essentially means you still have some of your hair, but you get some patchiness. And then a different type of alopecia, which I believe most people are just born with, where you don't have a lick of hair on you, like nothing. But it can progress into that. And there was a lot of unknowns. I went like full on wig shopping with my mom that summer. And I mean, I did feel misunderstood in the sense that I couldn't even understand. So how am I supposed to explain that to other people? And I don't want people to ask questions that I don't have the answer to because I don't want to say, I don't know how bad it's going to get and then have them, thinking of me a certain way. And mind you, COVID happened. We got sent home my freshman year, halfway through the year. Sophomore year at Iowa, I mean, they didn't care at all at Iowa. So it was just like free for all, we're back. And so it was like we went from isolation to back to everything to now
Mm.
back to isolation when everybody else was having their first COVID-free summer. After that, I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't want people to ask questions and I didn't understand myself. So it was a hard battle to deal with. And then again, to my first point, battling with like, but there are way worse things that can happen.
Mm.
Cancer patients lose their hair to chemotherapy every day, and it's the least of their issues. And I'm over here, bitching and complaining about losing my hair. It was a whole mental battle for sure.
Yeah, from one extreme to the next, and then
Totally.
comparing yourself to extremes in very unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, probably also comparing yourself to your old self, which felt healthy and normal and could do whatever the
Yes.
hell you wanted.
Totally.
You mentioned you didn't really understand or view yourself in a way that you wished. How did you see yourself all of a sudden? Did you see yourself as broken, as sick, as like, how did you start to view yourself?
I just was kind of disgusted with myself. I didn't want to look in the mirror. I didn't want to get up and get dressed up to go out anywhere. I would, get up, put on my hat, take my 40 million supplements, literally go up and go to the gym, and then come home and lay in bed and watch Summer House all day long, like watch reality TV and escape. And this might be a really niche experience, but when you have a cold and your nose gets so stuffy and you're laying in bed going to sleep and you're thinking to yourself, like, I should have taken advantage of all those times where I could just breathe through my
Mm.
nose. That's kind of
Yep.
how I felt. I was like, I should have really appreciated life before this because now my entire life is probably going to look different. So I was really a shell of myself. I am such an extrovert. I mean, the most extroverted combo is probably working in pharmaceutical sales and being a fitness instructor at the same time. And I took all of that and I was just all of a sudden this shell of a
Mm.
human that didn't want to go and talk to anybody.
Yeah, I guess I'm super curious. Did you feel betrayed?
I don't know if it was feelings of betrayal. I think I had a lot of animosity towards and I don't even know what it was directed at. My poor mom, she was such a angel at the time, but autoimmune disease is on her side of the family. So I remember in a rage at one point being like, it's your side of the family that gave me these genes, it's your whole thing. The poor woman, I love her, she's probably over it now, but
How
yeah,
did
and
she
I think
react? What did that do to her?
God, she was in tears, the poor woman. She just, yeah, again, I could talk about it for days. I mean, it is hard to cut out a million things from your diet and have that kind of discipline if it's not hey, do it or you lose your hair. She didn't have any reason other than me to do it. And I think she just knew that I was really struggling and she was down to do whatever, listen to me say whatever in order to get her little girl better, which it worked. So I feel
Yeah.
so bad to this day.
No, no.
I know, but it's like, when you bury things deep down to your point of like, I wasn't talking about it, I was keeping everything inside, it manifests in super ugly ways. And that can go for anything, friendships, relationships. When you let stuff manifest and you don't talk about it, it can really come out in ugly ways.
If you don't mind, yeah, like besides kind of placing blame on your mom,
Mm.
what other ways did just keeping it in turn your life worse than it already was?
I don't know. I think friendships were really impacted because I didn't really reach out to any of my college friends.
Cut
I wasn't
ties?
talking to them. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't even say cut ties, but like just wasn't going out of my way to talk to anybody, and majority of my college friends lived in Iowa and I'm in Chicago. So when I was home for that summer, it's like, if you don't reach out to your friends and talk to them, even if they're reaching out, eventually they're going to be like, she just doesn't want to talk. And I didn't want to tell literally anybody. The only person I even confided in was my best friend's sister to this day, because she and I were roommates. And by the time I got back to school, I was like, I feel healthy. I'm fit. My hair is, still my hair and people are going to ask questions, but I feel like it was starting to kind of give signs that it was going to grow back and everything was working. I'm like, finally, I'm back. I'm ready. But all of those relationships had just kind of started to diminish, spiraled me into this whole other sort of depression where I just felt so lonely, trapped inside of my own skin, So I think that was the biggest impact of that whole entire situation. Outside of fitness, like really losing some of those friendships or not maintaining them. They came back eventually, but I just was like lost in this loneliness spiral when in reality they were all next door waiting for me,
Yeah, as an extrovert, as a fitness enthusiast, to lose your identity has to be just a huge battle. And then obviously fuel is essential, and you've cut your fuel source in not even in half, in more than half. It's no wonder why you didn't feel like getting out of bed some days, or it's no wonder why you
Yeah.
didn't feel like talking and it just didn't feel like yourself. Did your friends ever show concern? Did they ever reach out, or did they kind of understand that, hey, Anna's going to reach out when she wants to? That's the type of person she is, but we're, like you said, we're right here for her when she's ready.
I think my girlfriend, like my best friend, the one that I confided in, she knows who I am to my core. So she was kind of like, I'm going to let you come to me when you're ready to talk about it. But nobody else knew anything else was going on. So they, I think, were probably just like, she just doesn't want to talk to us. She's got her boyfriend, she's got her other friends, she's doing whatever. And I feel like I talk a lot about how friendships are the most important relationships that I think that you can have outside of, family but even more so than I think romantic relationships, friendships, you get them on a whole different level. And I will never forget some of those times having my roommate come into my room and just sit and not ask any questions, but just be there with me. Like everybody needs a champion like that in their life. And so it kind of helped me bridge that gap between like what my mind was telling me was happening and what was actually happening. I mean, I remember having a phone call with my mom early on when I had gotten back from my junior year being like, I think I need to like drop out and come home. Like, I don't want to be here. And I was living in a gorgeous apartment. All of my, friends were living in the same apartment complex. It's my junior year. I'm stoked, but like, I just did not want to be there. I was miserable because I felt locked in my own like cage almost.
Yeah, what a beautiful friend you have, just to come and sit
I know.
in the room and be
Yeah.
there. I really hope everyone gets to experience that, and I think everyone will at some point in their life, a
Yes.
friend like that, whether you've had it yet or not. Walk us through those moments where it was just you two alone in the silence, just being. How powerful was that to your transformation of healing?
Oh my God, the most powerful. I still to this day, we still talk about it sometimes and be like, you were the bridge between reality and what my mental state was telling me. And if you weren't there, my mental state would have won the battle. Like I would have just had to resort to I mean, God knows what. Like was having super deep, dark thoughts. I didn't want to be at Iowa anymore. I wanted to go home. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to be here, but I don't want to be at home either because I'm still going to be sitting here wishing I had this life that I am not currently having. And yeah, she was the one that got me up and out of bed. And she said, we're going next door. Everyone's next door. We lived next door to the rest of our girlfriends. She's like, you're honestly, everyone needs a friend to be like, you're being weird and you're being a little dramatic. Get up and like come out and just like breathe some fresh air and like get out of this slump. We can come right back in here and sit in silence afterwards, but like, let's do it. And then, you know, that made for like a phenomenal rest of my junior and senior year. But I mean, I didn't want to do anything. I have so many memories that, oh, I feel so sad for that version of myself. And I wish often, I think people say like, oh, if only, you know, my younger self could see me now. But if that version of me could see me now, my life would be so different. I have memories of driving to sorority chapter on Sundays. You go and, you know, you do a whole thing. I have a memory of driving to the Kappa house, seeing people walk in, and I did not want to walk in alone. I didn't know who I was going to sit next to. I didn't know who I was going to talk to. I didn't want to be standing there alone. And so I just turned around in tears and drove right back home. And I think it's moments like that where you feel like you hit your lowest low. It teaches you a lot about life and a lot about how much you can handle. And it makes you less fearful for hard moments in life because, you know, if you can get to the lowest of your lows and know you get through it, then you can, I mean, conquer the world, I think. It made me so much more confident once I came out of that. It made me feel like I could do anything.
Sure. Yeah, I want to jump back a bit to things you miss out on, right?
Yeah.
You said it made you more confident. However, you had to miss out on a lot in order to gain this confidence.
Yeah.
As a young woman, obviously in college, learning a lot about yourself, making new friends, trying to find out if you want a partner or not, or if you need more friends or different friends, right? You miss out
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of those experiences. What are a few things that you took for granted before and now maybe after? Maybe find yourself slipping back into after is just like, yeah, I can do this whenever now because I am more confident and I've started to handle my autoimmune disease.
Yeah, I think any like movie, TV show, pretty much ever always says like, oh, you know, back in the wild college days and stuff like that. And even when I was starting to build like those friendships back up and even with new friendships after this like really dark time when I was starting to kind of crawl my way out of it, it's interesting because I felt at that point like, okay, these girls want me to be around. They're here for me. They're excited. And I have memories of like getting up and getting dressed to go to a college tailgate. Tailgating is huge at University of Iowa because there's nothing else to do there but football and drink. And so I remember getting dressed up, going to the pregame, and then deciding like, you know what, I think I just want to go work out and then go lay in my bed by myself. Like, I don't know. And I think now my perspective is telling me it's like, oh, I was worried about like, what if I don't have anybody to talk to? Or what if, you know, I end up standing there alone? And those moments I just definitely took for granted in the moment because I thought it's safer to be comfortable in my little shoebox of an apartment than it is to go out and be extroverted. I mean, when I look back now, I'm lucky that I did have some really incredible memories before and after that point in time, but certain things like that I, you know, regret so much. And I think even to this day, if you're asking about what I like take for granted now, I think when I still complain about like, you know, my diet or something, it's like, hey, so this actually changed my life. Like you should be a little bit more appreciative of it when I have those moments. Yeah, I think it's give and take because I look back and I'm really sad about a lot of those moments, but I know at the same time that I love my life right now. I love who I've turned into, and it wouldn't be like this if it wasn't for that. So I have a lot of appreciation and sadness for it.
Yeah, it's a weird emotional state to be in even now. Like
Totally.
you're happy, sad, you're sad, like anyone who's
Yeah.
experienced it, I argue again, everyone's experienced it, knows exactly that emotion, just that uncomfortable happiness. And it's like, am I allowed to be
Yeah,
happy again? Almost.
totally. Or like when
But
is something going to go wrong, you know?
correct. It's like trying to live in the present and be happy, but fearful that you could lose all your hair again in your
I
case.
know. Yeah. Yeah. So,
I noticed when you were speaking about getting dressed up and getting ready to go to a football game and hang out with
mhm.
your sorority sisters and whatnot. or just at a sorority. I don't know if you were a sister, but at the sororities. Are you a sorority sister?
Yeah, I was in Kappa Kappa Gamma.
Okay, so I can say that. Okay,
Yes,
so
you
hanging
can.
out with your sisters or going to
Yep.
the football games, it sounded like a sense of retreat back to the gym. Not even that you wanted to go. It was just like, oh, if I'm not going to be there, I better be doing something. Otherwise, I don't have an excuse not to go. What was your relationship with fitness at that time?
It's so interesting that you say that, because even when it came out of my mouth, I was like, wait, yeah, that really was my safe space before I even knew that it was. It felt like something productive for me. It felt like I had my routine. I could go in there and I'd know exactly what to expect. Whereas there are other situations like going out and maybe not having somebody to talk to, or feeling like no one wants to feel like they're standing in the corner of the party. Like, who do I go talk to next?
Yes.
And so I was at the gym and just working out. I wasn't even confident enough to go to workout classes at this point in time, mind you. Would never show up to one by myself. Would only just go walk on the treadmill, do like an ab workout, and then go home. But it was the consistency and knowing what I was getting myself into. I knew exactly what to expect. That I think is what really made it the comfort space that it was. And I think at that point in time, it wasn't even about like how it would transform my body, but I think it was more of a mental health exercise than I even had the capacity to understand at that point in time.
Yeah, your mind was taking you to scenarios that you could control.
Yeah,
When
exactly.
all else was crazy, the possibility of the unknown was just too fearful for you to even comprehend. So you said, okay,
Right.
I'll go have fun to check boxes, whether you thought this or not, to check boxes, make sure my friends know I'm out, that I'm okay,
Right.
but I'm not that okay. I'm not going to come out and be afraid and all that. I'm going to go do something that I know. A lot of people say like they'd rather be comfortable stuck in the mud than what the feeling of cleanliness feels like. Like that's just one of the
Totally.
terms. Now, obviously, you lead these fitness classes and you're a
Yeah.
huge proponent of fitness and honestly mental health in the greater
Mm.
Chicago area. How? How? How did you go from someone who? No,
Oh my God, how
I'm
did I
trying
get
to
here?
understand this. How did you go from? Well, I mean, it is interesting because you went from someone who spent 30 minutes on a treadmill
I
and
know.
ab workouts out of not even out of necessity, out of routine, to
Yeah. Just
someone who does this for a living and inspires millions of others.
millions. Hopefully one day. I don't know if we've reached millions yet. But yeah. Um, it was a slow progression. Once I felt like I was, out of that major funk towards the end of my junior year, I was loving my girlfriends. We were having so much fun. And me and my roommate, we started going to the Iowa like rec that every student gets a membership to, offered workout classes. And we would go and take this one. She was a dental student. We thought she was so cool. And we would go and take her workout classes. And she and I were the only two that were ever in the class because it was like a weird point of the day. So we were the only ones that would go. And I just remember at one point being like, this is so cool that you get paid to do this. And I think just going made me more comfortable. We started taking other people's workout classes. And then at the end of that year, my junior year, I had broken up with my boyfriend. I was like this new confident girl. Like I was like, my ego was at an all-time high probably because the health stuff had I'd gotten into my routine. I felt sorted with friends. I was ready to be my own person. And so when I went home for that next summer, talk about a total 180 switch from the summer before. I had started going to more workout classes. I had gotten certified that summer, and by the time I came back for my senior year, I was the one teaching them at the Iowa rec. I built up a big group of girls, and I said, you know what, I'm going to make a TikTok and an Instagram, and I'm going to start posting about this stuff, and let's just see what happens. And from there, I graduated, and it catapulted me into this world, and I have a lot of ambition. And one of my biggest pet peeves in life is saying things but not doing them, or at the very least working towards them. So when I get an idea in my head, like it's going to happen one way or another, whether it takes 10 years, 5 years, or 2 days. So yeah, it was a slow progression that I think at some point just kind of in the past like year and a half has really blown up and become like my entire personality, this whole fitness thing.
Hey, that's not a bad thing. Like you
I
said,
know.
if you hadn't gone through that experience, it might not have catapulted you to where you
Yeah.
are. What does a strong day look like for you now versus when you were really in the middle of suffering? Hey there. If you're still listening, I just want to pause for a second and say thank you. It means a lot to me that you're here, that you're giving your time to something that we're building together. If you haven't yet, I kindly ask you to subscribe to the podcast, turn on your notifications, and leave us a 5-star review. Every time you do, it helps us bring more amazing guests to these conversations, people who are here to share real insights, real stories, and ideas that can actually make a difference in our community. So thank you again for listening and sharing this space with me. Yeah, let's keep going.
I don't know if I could think of a strong day. Sadly, back when I was, struggling like that. It's crazy, like, what, like, your trauma response does, where you, like, really try to block everything out and you just kind of don't remember. But I think, like, my strongest days would feel like I just was more than alone by myself. Which is so crazy because that really feels like the bare minimum these days. But a strong day for me now is waking up, taking a 5 a.m. class, teaching a 6 a.m. class, going and talking to like 10 doctors a day about neuroscience, coming back to the city, probably teaching another class, coming home and working on training guides for new formats I'm adding places, doing podcasts. I'm so happy that I decided to come on this podcast because you're making me think about a lot of things I haven't thought about in a long time. And I think even comparing it when I come home after a day like I just explained, and I'm mentally exhausted and I feel like this is insane. I'm loving it, but this feels insane. Like that girl that was back in her college apartment crying. This is like her dream life. It's her dream life. So yeah, it's interesting to compare the two.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it comparison. I'd call it reflection. I think
Totally. Yeah.
that's more accurate. Obviously, we all compare to ourselves, to past, future versions. We spend so much time outside of the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how we are as humans now. I'm trying to think, because as someone who's also very ambitious and also pretty extroverted, I will say, I often say a lot and do a lot, and I just forget that you need to slow down. You've experienced, obviously, the slowest of slows. Like, life came to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
Now you're experiencing busy days. How do you remind yourself to, yeah, you enjoy this, you enjoy coaching, you enjoy teaching classes. I'm assuming you enjoy teaching doctors. I mean, being smarter than the smartest people in the room sometimes has got to be an incredible feeling. But how do you remind yourself, like, hey, slow down and just do something else and do something Anna likes for a while?
Well, I think with each year older you get, time seems to move super fast because it's the same thing of waking up every day and going to work or going to school and then going to your workout and then coming home and cooking the same meal that you cook. And then, you got your grocery store on Sundays and you have this routine. And I think that a large part of this is going to sound really, some people will get this and other people will be like, what the hell is she talking about? But adding new things to the mix and making me ultimately busier, but adding in new things makes me feel like I'm slowing down because I'm getting out of this corporate spiral routine where everything looks the same. And it's, I try to make everything different, and one book that one of my mentors at my full-time job recommended to me, it's called The 1% Rule. And I highly recommend it to everybody. I mean, I'm really not a fan of have you read it?
Fantastic book. I have, yeah.
I'm not really a fan of self-help kind of books, especially business ones. It's if you ask me personally,
Oh, no, I'm kidding.
from a leadership perspective, I think you kind of have it or you don't, and you can build up those skills, but a book is not going to turn you into, Steve Jobs. So for me, that book was really important because if you're someone like me where I have a vision board hanging back there that you can't see, it's it's very easy to look at that and be like, there's so much I want to do, but I don't know where to start. If you make a plan for little things you can do and how you get there, every one of your days feels different. It feels like you're trying something new, feels like you're working towards something, and that feeling of overwhelming that looking at these boards slowly starts to diminish because you start checking off these boxes and then you realize you've already, completed 5 out of the 10 things you wanted to do for the year.
Yeah, I get this strong visual of a book gets you on the couch, literally, to read and, yes, expand your knowledge, grow your mind. Reading is very important. By no means do I think that that's what you meant by what you said.
Yeah, no, I don't mean that.
What gets you, Anna, personally off the couch then, if it's not books that motivate you?
I think it's looking back on my life one day. And it's not about, for me, social media followers or how many people I can get to come to my workout classes or how much success I get in my corporate job. My goal has always been impact. I want to leave a positive impact or some sort of positive change wherever I go. And my ultimate goal is to be able to look back on my life and have like almost like string of things that I had impact on and that I did and that were meaningful in my life, whether they taught me a hard lesson or whether it taught me a great lesson. And I think that's what's so incredible about my full-time role, because we are educating doctors on a specific medication that is life-changing for patients. So that's the impact right there. You go back into an office, they got a patient on the medication, and it has changed their whole world. And then, for my fitness stuff, my favorite is when I have people reaching out to me asking how they should get certified. And, I had a girl reach out to me the other day who was a freshman when I was a senior, and she came to my workout classes and she's trying to get certified. I'm like, wow, I was an inspiration to you when I was in the worst time point of my entire life. And that's really powerful to me. So I'm always about leaving impact. That's what gets me up and gets me out of the door.
Yeah, there's so many quotes around, it's not the quantity of people that follow you, it's the quality, right?
Totally.
As a teacher, as a coach for you, as a mentor in your personal life, what if one day someone you taught becomes your teacher? What would that feeling be like for you?
That has happened to me a few times.
Can you walk us through that? Like, it's got to be a proud moment, but how does that feel when no one else in the room knows that you're the one who inspired them but you and them?
Yeah, I love it. I'm a really competitive person, and I think being competitive can manifest in ugly ways when it comes to, are you competing with the person or are you competing with your future version of yourself? And I've seen it manifest in ugly ways for some people who need the credit for that and need this. And honestly, it just makes my heart so happy because I know what it took for me to end up here. And that dental student that was teaching the workout classes, I don't even remember her name, and she definitely doesn't remember mine, but like she had such a huge impact on my life. And, she doesn't need the credit for it, but like she holds such a special place in my story. And I think for me to go and take workout classes from people that I've helped connect them with different places that offer trainings and etc. Like, it is just so special because I know deep down there's probably a lot of other reasons why they're doing this, or that they want to add something to their plate. And I also know what it means to stand in front of a room of 50 people with a 15-person wait list out the door and feel like people are excited to come and listen to you. Like, I wish I could share that feeling with everyone. So I love when other people get to experience that.
Yeah, you get to be the badass dental student for someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
What a feeling. And again, people who have experienced that know exactly what you're talking about. Just the
Totally.
joy of watching someone else get happiness out of something that you just truly love. Like
Absolutely.
a lot of athletics coaches get that same feeling, right? As someone who played myself and now coaches, if I can stand there on the sideline and get frustrated for something they do wrong and then help them fix it, but not be able to go physically do it myself. The feel like if I teach someone, if they're dribbling down this way, I'm a defender, like work smarter, not harder type defender, just know the strengths and weaknesses of your opponent, just do a lot of work. If I tell them, this person's a lefty, force him right, and then they actually do it and it works and they turn around and just smile and they're like, how did you know? But everyone's cheering for them and not for me.
Yeah.
It's just like, yes, come on. Because I knew how that felt when I was on the field, when I first started and was like, oh my God, I did something right. And I listened to Coach, but I'm not going to tell him I listened to him, right? Because why would you do that?
Yeah.
So anyone who's experienced that knows that feeling. What I want to know from you is, I guess this is hard because it's projecting into the future, and I don't usually like to do this, but what do you do when you're done coaching? Because it's such a big part of your life. What comes next?
I don't know, because I've only been teaching for 4 years, and it got to a point soon within those 4 years where I was like, just teaching these classes is enough. So let me add Pilates to a studio that doesn't have it. Let me create the training guide and train the instructors. And then there's more exciting things that I can't even talk about yet that are happening. And so there will always be an instructor until I'm like, too old where it's like, we don't want to listen to this broad anymore. But, I don't know. I love being innovative. I love Again, just making impact. And so I think at some point down the line, I'll definitely open my own studio of some sorts, but I don't see a world in which I'm not an instructor. I'm going to do it until I'm not allowed to anymore.
Yeah, I think you said I don't know a lot, but I think you do know. It's just you haven't vocalized it or thought about it a lot.
Yeah,
You seem to know yourself pretty well. Obviously, again, when you experience something like that, you, for better or worse,
yeah,
do spend a lot of time with yourself. The good, the
totally.
bad, and the very ugly, oftentimes.
Mhm.
I encourage our listeners to do that all the time, to
Yeah,
really deeply get in touch with themselves, but it carries a lot of heaviness. And when I say
yeah.
that, oftentimes people think of the negative things about themselves of like, well, I know what I don't want to do. How come I can't figure out what I want to do? And it's like,
Mhm.
knowing what you don't want to do is just as useful as knowing what you want to do. You cut out
Totally.
X amount of options. When you spend time with yourself, one of my buddies calls it thinking about your thoughts. He'll know who he is when
Mm.
he hears that. When you just sit and think about your thoughts,
Yeah, I like that.
how do you just stay away from going down this negative spiral of self-hatred and disgust and start to think about like these are the good things about myself despite the rest?
That's a really hard thing to do, and I wish I had a
Yeah.
good answer to that.
Well, what do you do personally then?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I like to think that I'm a relatively introspective person because I'm trying to think of what the word is, but I don't wanna stand up in front of a group of people and preach. I'm really big on intentions. I like to set intentions at the beginning of my classes, and it's always something new, you know? And I don't wanna stand up there and be preaching something that I'm not practicing myself, and I've had quite a few times where I've given this whole big intention spiel to a group of, 60 people, and then come home and be like, "Am I even listening to myself?" You know? Do I
I think they
really
call it
even.
fake these days. I think they call it being fake.
Yeah, fake AF. Big time fake for some of these intentions. But I also think it's important. Sometimes you need to hear that's really funny. It is being fake. But I think it's important, or at least how I do it, is I learn a lot about what I want for myself in qualities that I see in other people. And I think that it is a very safe thought to know that some of my favorite people that I look up to so much have these thoughts as well. And it's important to have these thoughts. It's important to understand those things. For me personally, I think it's a lot easier to get out of that spiral because I like call it like a constant validation cycle because I'm in sales, so I'm validated if I'm good at my job because I see my numbers. And I'm validated on my fitness stuff because I know as soon as a class opens, people are going to book it out. And then I'm going to get people, you get a hater every once in a while, but I've got constant validation, which is really special but also super helpful for my own mental health because you have to be super secure in yourself and you can't only rely on external validation. But it might not be the greatest answer, but it is super helpful when I'm down on myself of like, why should these people be listening to me? Almost like imposter syndrome. I think I deal with the most
Yeah.
as my biggest negative thought about myself. But yeah, I think you kind of just don't know until you do it. Just kind of
Ooh.
push through. And again, I'm really good at getting out of these negative spirals because nothing will ever compare, hopefully, to what I went through when I was in college. And so I feel like if I know I can get through that, I'll be totally fine. I'll be fine no matter what. And you're only one decision away from a completely different life, you know? And so I find a lot of comfort in that.
Yeah, you're only one decision away from a completely different life.
I have that on my vision board.
Wow. So it was quoted.
Is
You
it
didn't forget
so
it. No.
powerful? Yeah, it's
No,
so
that is
powerful because it is.
100%. I mean,
You meet
it's
one
again,
person, yeah, and it could change your life. You do one thing, it change your life.
yeah, you could, again, I won't beat a dead horse, but you could see a badass dental student and change the whole trajectory of your life, you know?
Yeah,
Not
you
even
could lose
remember their
some
names. It
hair
doesn't
and then
matter.
yeah, lose some
Again,
hair and all of a sudden
insert your one difference
yeah,
making experience, difference making thought, difference making person. In your experience, you
yeah,
had all three of them, which is what I think is super powerful.
yeah.
I don't want to gloss over this, so I kind of want to sit here and I might disappoint some people when I say this, but I'm fake. I'll just throw that out there. I
Everyone's
fake,
sweet.
right? You just stole
Yes,
my line. You just stole my
everyone
line. No,
is, but I get it.
no, but it's like you could look at your favorite influencer. You can look at your favorite instructor. You could hear them say, I drink X amount of water every day. I do this. I take this supplement. I take this vitamin. I get this many hours of sleep. I get this. I get this. Look at their Aura Ring, please. Ask them for their Aura Ring
Yep.
results. Ask them for
They're a
their
tea.
Fitbit results. Ask them for their Garmin results. The reason they are in the seat they're in is because more often than not, they're practicing what they preach. When I say I'm fake, I mean, I don't do it every day. Are you kidding me? I often say I put a bottle of water right outside the bathroom sink. So when I get in the shower, I have to finish one before and one after. In an
Mhm.
ideal world, I do that every day. I don't think I've done it yet in the past week and a half. I'm not going to out myself of all my fakenesses. I'll call my fakenesses instead of my weaknesses, right? For you, and I'm not trying to, let's expose Anna.
No, I relate to this a
What
lot.
is one thing that you want your community to know? Like, hey, I preach this to you, but I struggle with it myself as well.
I think being comfortable being by yourself, I talk a lot about. Because in my workout classes, I talk a lot about how it's so important to walk into this space and feel like nothing else exists and feel content in the way that you showed up. Feel content in your own skin, in your own mind space, because it's so important, mentally, spiritually, and physically. But mental is such a huge aspect of working out. And I will always have a fear of loneliness based on some of that trauma from college. And so I do talk about that. Actually, that was fake of me. Fake. Hit the fake button because I don't talk about it really at all. But I do, at least for me personally, but I do talk
Yeah.
about that a lot to other people. And so that's a huge one where I come home at the end of the day and I'm like, I am preaching this to people for good reason because I have great experience with it. But I mean, I hate being alone and try to take steps to be that way. I mean, I made the decision to live by myself. I'm like, I need to get really good at being alone, but that is something that I am very fake about. No, I bet like no one knows that about me except for like a few people in my life.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. I kind of want to reverse the question now and in a way and say what is one thing you want your community to know that you're appreciative of? What do they fill you with every time you step in that you necessarily don't get when you spend time with yourself?
Is purpose like too deep of an answer? Like,
Nothing. Not no, no. That's fantastic.
think they do. Like I talk about this a lot because on now my content has shifted a lot. It started as like super Pinteresty, like aesthetic content. And now it's just like me sitting in front of the camera talking or, taking videos of working out or whatever. And I think I talk a lot about for new instructors that your community is everything. You can get a best time slot at the best gym in Chicago, but you are no one and nothing unless people show up and they want to be a part of what you're offering. And that's just the reality of it. It's like if you're a professor and you've got this phenomenal class at Harvard and no one shows up, it's like, it's still cool to say that you have those accolades, but it's more about the impact you're having on other people. And I think that I love what I do so much because other people believe in me. And for them, it's probably just, I like her workout classes. I'll sign up and go. But it is so much deeper than that for me. Like, and I really try my best to make everyone feel super appreciated, remembering birthdays and wanting to celebrate their achievements and, all of these things because they've changed my life. I think, especially being a person who does have that fear of loneliness, and for anybody who takes a courageous step to do something where you have to stand in front of a group of people and they have to listen to you, like you hope people show up. So make them feel appreciated for riding for you and following you to all the studios you go at and showing up when you post an event. So they are like truly my purpose when it comes to fitness.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Not too deep of an answer at all. It's an honest answer. It's
Yeah.
just
I mean,
truly an
it's,
honest answer.
yeah.
What a wonderful way to live daily, though, with intention and impact at the forefront of your mind.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm fascinated. Maybe it's because I'm reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if you've read
I
that
love
book.
that book. Yeah.
I'm fascinated with the present moment. I
Totally.
am, but you need to plan for your future. That's one thing I disagree with him in. Again, I'm only 3/4 of the way through the book, so maybe he'll change my mind by the end. But
Yeah.
how do you balance that of, like we kind of touched on before, don't go back and dwell on your old self, but be cognizant of it and be thankful that you've got through it. Be
Hmm.
present, be in the room with your I might even say your clients, with your workout companions, with your
Yeah.
50 best friends for the next hour.
My best
And then how
friends.
do you also plan the next hour after that, and the next hour after that, when 50 new of your best friends come in. Like, you're serving so many people. How do you not get too far ahead or stuck in the past?
That's really interesting. I feel like the future is very uncertain. And I think that rather than thinking about, too far into it of where I want to end up and being so set in that, I think a lot about, again, that quote that you're really only one decision away most times at an entirely different life. And so for me, I like to think a lot about how I can set myself up best rather than, for today, which will then give me a better tomorrow. And so if I can show up for people and be their favorite part of the day or something that they look forward to, I feel like no matter who walks in the room, it's my job to make them enjoy it. I mean, ultimately, and you can't please everybody, but I just focus on showing up for the people that are showing up for me. And I think that that's a way of thinking about being a fitness instructor that not enough fitness instructors are doing.
Yeah, speak on that for a minute. I'm not a fitness instructor. I hire instructors for our mental health
Yeah.
community. Shout out to Megan. We just had an event this morning. She was fantastic. But
Shout out, Megan.
yes, fantastic. What do you mean by show up for the people that show up for you? Because I think that is a beautiful and such a true quote.
Well, it's your job well, I guess I don't know. I think maybe we've transitioned into a time where being a fitness instructor is super trendy. And I mean, it's crazy. I was just having this conversation last night with somebody where I feel like you get one big moment where you can say, I did this before it was cool. And my claim is that I was a fitness instructor before it was cool. And I love that
Hey.
people are wanting to do it. But at the same time, you have to have, I think, and sometimes you don't know what your mission is behind doing it until you're in it. I think it's okay to say you wanted to do it because you think it's awesome and you just want to, be in front of a group of people. Like, sure, just own it. But for me, it's a lot deeper because fitness means a lot to me and fitness totally changed my life. And I believe that it has the power to change a lot of other people's life too. The way that they see themselves, the way that they figure out from a physical standpoint, how much strength that they actually have, building community, meeting the people around you, motivating a stranger that's sitting next to you. Like, I just think for me, it's so much deeper than just a workout class. And I wish more people were like that. But I was just having this conversation also with my corporate boss. We were like, how can people in sales just like drift by? But at the same time, you need to have people like that in this world because if not, then it's not special to be, go above and beyond for people. So there has to be people like that in the world, But for me, I just wish more people were like that because a lot of people are fake. And I feel like I can sniff out a fake instructor.
We need a fake button. Instead of an easy
Fake
button, we
button.
need a fake button.
I know. We do need a fake
I mean,
button.
as I outed myself, I'd probably bash my forehead on it 3, 4,
Oh,
5
yeah.
times a day. But I'd do it less and less. It would keep me honest, right? But for
Yeah.
you, fitness kind of went from a safe space to a sense of purpose,
Yeah.
from like a brave face to a genuine smile, right? To something that really lights up your world. That is
Yeah.
special. That is so special to have something like that.
It is. And I wouldn't have even said that I was like an overly extroverted person before this whole thing went down, but I was definitely an introvert once it did. And then once I started this fitness stuff, I think a lot of people would probably say I'm one of the most confident people that they know because if you kind of just fake it long enough, you look in the mirror one day and realize, like, wow, I am a really confident person. It is
I was
hard
I
to
was just
go.
gonna ask that. I was
Yeah.
gonna say how much of it is genuine confidence and how much of it is like you got to take that first step forward and the rest follows. Because every day at 5 in the morning, you can't walk in and just. I mean, unless you're just tripping off caffeine, you can't have. It's
Yeah.
almost impossible to have that much energy.
Yeah.
So how do you? I'm gonna transition away from the word fake here because I don't think that's the right word for this sense. But how do you rely on what you know to get yourself going, right? Like, yeah, get through the first 15 minutes and then the true energy comes, or get through the first 30 minutes and then the smile becomes real. Like, how do you get yourself to that point on the days where it just sucks?
Yeah, there are, and I'm really intentional about that because I teach 8 classes a week on top of my full-time job. And
Quite a
I've
few.
always said I'll know that I've picked up too much or I'm doing too much when I'm no longer looking forward to it. So I'm very cognizant about that because, again, people are showing up and they're paying for a service, they're paying for an experience, and it's my job to show up for them. And I feel like it is a lot of at the beginning, kind of faking it. I know we're using that word a lot, but like sometimes you do. Everyone has
Yeah.
bad days, but in the fitness world, it started as I'm so nervous, but no one can know I'm nervous because that's embarrassing. So let me just like fake it. I'm not nervous to go and do stuff like that anymore, but there are days where it's like, I was out last night. Now I'm up at 5 in the morning. I'm coming here to yell at you all to do, lunges. Like it's a little bit much, but if I don't know. I just am always thinking about the people that showed up. It was hard for them to show up too, and they're not getting paid to be here. They showed up on their own free will, so we might as well give them a show.
They paid to be here.
Yeah, they paid to be here.
Yeah.
They're paying my bills. I better, show up for them. But I think it's interesting too because it was a whole new level when I switched to sales about 6 months ago. It is very intimidating. They are the experts of their field. I am the expert of my product. And to go in there and talk to people that, for one, don't really want to talk to you unless you bring them coffee or lunch or something. And two, think because they know more than us when it comes to, neuroscience, but I know more than them when it comes to our medications. And so that was a really big balance of like, I really have to fake it till I make it and I'm still working on that. I'm starting to find my gripping 6 months in, and build those relationships with these people. But it was a great kind of reality check of like, you gotta like get a little uncomfortable when you're trying something new. And I can't think of anything more uncomfortable than when I first started this new full-time role, going in and talking to these people that just want you to get out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah, I appreciate that honesty. And I think back to all the Olympians that I've spoken with, to all the thought leaders, to all the industry professionals, that like the people at the top of their game.
Mhm.
And most, if not, I'll honestly go out on a limb and say 95% of them say they still get butterflies before the competition. They
Yeah.
still get a little pinch in their stomach before a sales deal in that world. They still get a little uneasiness in their chest before they start a new company or before they give a speech. I've talked to so many public speakers, right? But it is that confiding in themselves, that remembering, again, using the past and the future as motivation to say like, hey, I've done this before. Or if you haven't done it before, you can look at the badass dentist who was in college
Yeah.
and faked her way through it and you didn't know and you had
Yeah.
no idea, right? So if you can rely on your community, if you can rely on really yourself to start, I mean, you could end up like Anna in your field. You could end up making a difference. You could end up and again, difference doesn't mean 6,000 people a month. A difference
Right.
means one person for 1 minute once a year, even, because sometimes that 1 minute changes someone's life. And I think I hate blanket statements because it's so different for everybody. But in a world where we all see so and so has a blue check mark, so and so has this follower, so and so has this. Oh, look at the news! This person blew up overnight. Their life must be so good. Blah, blah, blah. How do you even know if you want that? How do you even know if you want the struggles and the challenges and the disappointments and the expectations and the weight that comes with that? Now you might, but don't shortchange yourself. Don't
Totally.
shortchange yourself.
And I think to that point, at the end of the day, no matter, I'm really big into the saying, like, we all put our pants on the same way. Like, if I
Mm-hmm.
were to blow up overnight, I would still be left with my mental health struggles. I would still be left with my busy ass schedule. I would still be left, with this overwhelming feeling of I just want to have impact on people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a positive impact for, other people. So again, when it comes to that competitiveness, and I do have moments of like, oh, like I wish that that's how, my life was. I really am big onto like everything happens for a reason. And so I really get myself back to ground zero by saying, well, if I'm meant to be there, then I know I will be because I know I have control of my life. And I know that I wake up every day trying to make myself better. So if that's what the universe has for me, it's going to happen. And I don't need to worry about why it's not happening right now.
Grass is only greener where you water it.
Totally.
And if you get really freaking good at planting seed in one area, if you divert all your attention into that 1%, like you said, try it for a week. Let it spiral into a month, into a year, and it's tremendous the impact you can have in the area where you water your grass, again, for lack of a better analogy. But that's just such a strong visual for me, because if you start spreading out your water across the whole lawn, you get bare spots, you get mud, you get dirt, and again, it could create a beautiful canvas and let you point out your weaknesses. I think we all do that. But once you
Mhm.
figure out, like, hey, this part, half in the shade, half in the sun, allows me to function perfectly and accomplish my personal needs while serving others, because I think living a life that is not in service of others is, again, maybe a strong opinion, but I think it's, why wouldn't you? Um, Once you get really good at watering that little portion of your grass and really truly understanding yourself, it's so much fun, to be honest. And I'm still learning when to water, when to add more seed, when to get out the lawnmower and scale back. Again, this is the weirdest visual you could probably think of, but I think it
Oh, I
does the
love this
trick.
video.
I get weird
Not a
visuals
whole lot of
in
grass
that
back
sense.
here.
Yeah, I'm just like, I should say I get weird visuals. That's not what I meant. We're gonna edit that part. But I use a lot of strange analogies just because I think it
Yeah.
really catches people's attention and it pushes the point home.
Metaphors
What
are important. They're
Yes,
very important.
what is one that you will die on? What is one metaphor that might, or like one principle of yours that might seem wild to someone, but you will go to the ends of the earth to keep it in as a part of your life?
But I don't know if it's not similar to yours. I mean, the one thing that I say
It doesn't
probably,
have to be though.
but it's not like an analogy. It's more of like everything happens for a reason is really what I live my
Sure.
life, what I live my life on. And it's because I went through everything I went through and ended up here is why I believe that. And it's
Yeah.
hard to believe something unless we live in a world of needing results in order to believe in something. We need proof, we need receipts, we need timelines, we need it all. And it's one of those things where you don't know until you experience it. But I really will die on the hill that everything happens for a reason. And as long as you can commit to waking up and presenting yourself as 100% yourself and trying at least to be the best version of what you think of yourself, everything will fall into place.
Can I push back for a second? Can I challenge
Yeah,
you?
of course you can.
It sounds like you poop rainbows and eating cotton candy, Anna. Nothing. You can't
Well,
just
yeah,
go through life. And again, this is not necessarily my belief. This is just what comes to mind when someone says, "Oh, everything happens for a reason." Yeah,
yeah.
I fall down and break my ankle. What was that reason, Anna? Huh? Why did you lose? Not to attack anyone or you personally, but why
No,
did you
it's
lose all your hair?
fact.
Like, how do you so strongly believe in that? How do you not just say and just roll like a tumbleweed?
I think it's because I can give a million examples of when I was like, why
Mm.
is the universe not? I really wanted to work in sales. And at my company, it's extremely competitive to get a Chicago sales role because you need sales to move up in the company. But Chicago's where we're headquartered. So there's a lot of competitiveness. So I said, screw this. I'm going to apply for the one that's in New York. I'm going to pick up my life and move to New York. Interviewed, got the job. They said, we need you to move in 2 weeks. I said, that's not going to be possible. But I met with the right guy who was interviewing me. He got me in touch with my current boss, and that's how I got the Chicago role.
Wow.
So if I wasn't pissed and struggling and being a nuisance to anybody that would listen to me about why, why do I have to pick up and move and do all these things and, whatever. And that's a situation where I'm being fake because I don't ever include that part of the story. But I was like pissed. I'm like, I deserve this. I don't know why it's not happening for me. I have to pick up and move to a different time zone in order to get this opportunity. And then it landed me right back into the role that I wanted to get.
You
And
you
I
you
think,
you you found a way to water the grass where you wanted to.
yeah.
You could have
And
picked up and moved to New York and watered it there, and I'm sure you'd be doing just fine. I mean,
yeah,
for the hour that we've been talking, I have no doubts that you'd have been done just fine there. You would have found a way, but
figured it out.
I wanna touch on this one last time before we kinda transition. You
Yeah.
brought up the word fake again, and I find it interesting that it keeps coming back up because I don't think we're both not as fake as we're probably leading on to be. I don't know if that's the right word. You said you
Well,
never talk ab you never t I mean, it is for all intents and purposes, like, the baseline feeling, like, sometimes I do feel fake, and that results in imposter syndrome, or that results in, like, why the heck can I sit here and say X, Y, and Z when I don't do it 100% myself? But for you, at least the sense that I'm getting is you've learned how to pick and choose which parts of your story to tell certain individuals. In a world where we see everything about everyone, it seems like, how do
mhm.
you wake up and say, okay, today, this is the version of Anna that I want to share with the world?
I think when I'm saying the word fake, I feel like it all kind of comes back to like a pridefulness almost. I was having a conversation the other day. We were talking about Equinox. And when I first got hired at Equinox, the audition process was like nothing I've ever seen before. I walked into this place like, I'm getting this job. Like, they're so lucky to have me. I'm getting this job. And then I walked into a room of 50 other fitness instructors. We all had to go up one by one in front of the room and teach a workout class. I left starting to tell people like, yeah, I don't really want it that much anyway, knowing that I damn well wanted it, but didn't want people to know that I was excited about something and that I might not get it. And so it's a pridefulness thing. And I think that too, I think about your example of like the water glasses. Maybe you do it sometimes, and you post about it, and people who don't know you personally and don't have, the big brother camera in your apartment probably think that you do it every single day, but you wouldn't get on there and admit it, you know? And so I think when I say fake, it's like things that you're trying to push out the best version of yourself. And it's really hard to admit failure and denials and heartbreak and your feelings. And you don't want people to ask you about it. And you don't want to be embarrassed. And you don't want them to look at you a different way. And so for me, when I say, I think everything happens for a reason, I think a large part of these stories that I don't typically tell is it comes from pride, but that's being fake because it's a large part of these stories. It's, fake to leave out the secret sauce when it's a large reason why my mental perspective on it has shifted.
Yeah, and I appreciate the honesty, and I think I agree with you wholeheartedly. And then I think there are people out there that are just not ready to share that part of their story, which
Totally.
is totally okay. No one's asking you to, but if you feel compelled to, I really think you should talk to someone about it because it might help you more than you think. Someone else that's going through it, it could build your community, could help you find a community you didn't know that existed. Again, if I didn't buck up and start this platform, I would not have talked to people like yourself and learned so much about myself. And honestly, I don't want to gloss over this either. I was chatting with my girlfriend the other day, and she is that big brother video camera that you talk about because
Hmm.
I might out myself again here, but I just had a huge pile of clothes in the corner. And that's like
Hmm.
a pet peeve of pretty much everyone except for me, it seems like. And I felt lazy. And then she was like, well, you are. And I was like, ow. But then I was like, she doesn't mean I'm lazy, like, "Oh, he never does anything, he doesn't do this." But there are aspects of my life that I didn't realize I was letting slip or getting lazy in. And again, I think that is more along the lines of when I say fake, it's, no, I'm not gonna post a picture of my giant heap of dirty laundry on Instagram
Right.
because no one wants to see that, right? But we all have our giant heap of dirty laundry. If you're comfortable sharing it and letting people know they're not alone, all the power to you. If you're not and you're someone who needs to, if you're someone who's sitting here saying, Caleb, I needed to hear you say you had a pile of laundry halfway up your wall,
Yeah,
and I'm okay with sharing that, why not? Again, it goes back to that being comfortable in your own skin, being so present and so self aware. And we all have work. The moment you think you hit it, you're 10 steps behind where you need to be in terms of self awareness and presence. But the closer you can get to that, I genuinely think the closer you can be to knowing yourself, to helping yourself through, in your case, an autoimmune disease, loneliness, whatever your X, Y, and Z that Anna has listed for you, as soon as you can start to love yourself and truly understand yourself, it just feels like you can sprint up the stairs towards what you want to do in life.
for sure. And I love that too, because I think it is hard and not everybody has to share. Not everybody wants to share. I think it's something like an analogy for that is like I know people who are private on Instagram with 300 followers that I'm friends with that could be like an Alex Earl, like could do all of that, but
My
they're just not
gosh, yeah.
interested in it. And for me, I often, and this is kind of dark, but at the end of the day, like it's just you laying alone in your
Mm.
coffin. And in that moment, I'm sure, I mean, I haven't experienced it, but in that moment, at the end of your life, you can think about the people who loved you and the relationships that you had and the things that you did, but all of those things are a result on how you see yourself and how you projected yourself to the world. So it's more important to, when I think about everything happens for a reason and these stories and these things that I believe in, yes, I'm a person that chooses to say them out loud, but they really only resonate unless you believe them in yourself. Choose to look at it that way. I mean, you started this whole platform based off of like an unfortunate situation, right? Did you get injured, right, in soccer?
Well, I mentally, I guess you could argue.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right. You said broke your
correct.
ankle as like an example. I was
Well,
like,
I've
did
sprained my
you?
ankle 8,000 times. So yeah,
Yeah,
injuries
yeah.
have. I mean, I've witnessed my brother tear his ACL a handful of times. So like I've seen people and
Yeah,
and
we
dark
grow in our
places. And
toughest moments. What do people say?
correct. And
Diamonds are made under pressure. Like,
and I
yeah, I
I
mean,
often compared myself to his injury for the longest time. Like,
yeah,
woohoo, Caleb, your brain hurts, in air quotes for people
right.
that aren't watching. He destroyed his knee and would give anything to come back to practice. And here you are skipping practice because you're having a tough day, or like, I'm downplaying it. But I
Yeah,
think it's one of those things where, like you said, it did happen for a reason. You can either sit, I mean, I sat and sulked for a little while. I think there's a certain
right?
amount of health to that. You're allowed to grieve. You're allowed to
It's
get that
important.
out. It's very important. But at the end of the day, when you're ready to continue and push forward, the strength when you have it is it's like nothing else. And until you experience that, I always ask guests, do you wish you didn't hit your rock bottom to get to where you are? And again, 95% are like, I don't think it's possible to get where you're at without a rock bottom.
Totally agree. And I was gonna
Yeah.
say, if I were to leave this audience with anything, it would be to take out a piece of paper and write down some of like your best favorite moments, something that you accomplished, a promotion that you got, and then to draw an arrow next to it, and next to it write one key thing that happened in your life that got you there. You know, if you moved to New York and got your dream job and you had to break up with your boyfriend to move to New York, that is something really hard that happened that shaped you into this whole other person. It's really helpful to put those things on paper in front of you and understand how these simple life decisions, and sometimes often really hard life decisions, can shape you into the person that you are. But it's really hard to believe it unless you show it in your own life and show things that happen that you don't often think about, you know? It's important to have awareness of those kinds of things, because then the next time something shitty happens, you'll allow yourself to have more faith in yourself that it's happening for a reason. And you don't know what it was. Maybe it takes a day, a month, a year, 10 years to figure out what the reason behind it was, but there's always going to be a reason.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think there's power in being able to see your success,
Yeah,
not just experience it. We
really.
need to take a moment and soak it in. Just like we
Yeah.
take a moment and soak in our negative experiences, you need to sometimes write those down and see those, but I think it's 10,000 times more powerful to see the positive experiences and the successes and the happiness that you have in life. And if that looks like a vision board for you, fantastic. If that looks like scribbling in a notebook, fantastic. If that looks like posting it on social media, fantastic. Just do what makes you happy at the end of the day. It sounds so simple, but I think you don't need to complicate it if it doesn't have to be. Your life's going to get complicated on its own. Don't do it to yourself.
Yeah.
So,
And once you figure out who you are, be confident in that.
mhm.
Don't let boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, anybody try to get you to be something else. Cause I really feel like we were all like, especially, I'm very spiritual. I feel like we were
Sure.
all like specially made to have some sort of impact in this world. And you won't get to push your true impact if you are pushing yourself into something else for someone else or something else. So I'm big on that. Big on that.
Yeah, I do want to ask you the final question here, though, that I ask nearly every guest on the Make Mental
Okay.
podcast. And are you ready for your final question of your interview on the Make Mental podcast?
I'm ready.
All right, buckle in. It's a scary one. No, I'm kidding. If there was one person in the entire world who could use a hug from you right now, who would you give it to and why?
Who could use a hug from me? I think my mom, probably. Like talking about and reflecting on this story just gives me a lot of admiration for her. Same thing, I would have to split it. 2 hugs. It's not the question, but I'm gonna
It's a
give 2
group hug.
hugs.
You get a group hug.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. To my best friend, Coral, and my mom, 2 people who are responsible for me being here today in their own various ways, shapes, and forms, and still support me, and 2 people who have never once doubted that how I am, exactly how I want to be, is exactly who I should be, and will tell anybody off in the process. So they deserve hugs.
Yeah. I mean, if they didn't feel the hug, I felt it for them. That was
I
beautiful.
know. I'm so excited for them to
I'm
listen to
sure
it.
they will. I'm sure they will. But if there's anyone that really connected with what you said, wants to learn more about your story or just connect with you and follow your journey, Anna, where can we find all these beautiful things that you can't yet talk about?
Yeah. Oh my God. If you want to be a part of the chaos and me just yapping at my camera, my Instagram and my TikTok are both Anna X Kathryn with a K B. It's a mouthful, but you'll find me.
Yeah, we'll link it. We'll link it
Yeah,
for
well,
them as well. But and some people just would love to hear where to follow you. Maybe they're already there. Heck, I hope they're already there by the time they're at the end of this podcast because
hopefully. It's
you've
fun over
inspired them
there,
so
I
much. But
promise.
yeah, well, that's how we ran into each other. So
Yeah, yeah, it is.
again, it's free to support. It's free to hit that follow button. Like she said, it's not about that, but when you're in service of other people, it's always nice, especially given the world today, to just see a little bit of growth. It unlocks so many opportunities for people that really need the help and the person giving the help. So if you feel
Absolutely.
compelled, please head over there. Give her a follow. If you're coming from her community, do the same thing. Let us know you came from her community as well. We'd
Yes.
love to know how many of Anna's faithful Pilates, yoga, sales, doctors, whatever the heck she interacts with,
Girls,
whoever
better
comes
step up.
over.
Don't
Yeah,
make us
no, we need
sad.
Anna's army over here. Come on.
Yeah, we'll bring them to make mental. They better
Yes.
show up. I'll make them show up.
Yes. Oh,
They're
yes.
loyal.
But we'd love that. We might have to have like
Yeah,
an Anna's army section here and then just keep having
I
you back
like
on.
that. I'm gonna trademark that or something.
Well, I'm going to get royalty. It's on video. I get something. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, talk about it
But
later.
you know, we really appreciate this past hour and change just to get a little bit insight about your life. And I think this is what's so powerful about storytelling and community is if we hadn't connected and someone hadn't chosen to listen to this, then their life could be completely different. Like you said, someone's decision to listen to this episode could be that one difference that they needed, and we really hope it is. That's why you and I do what we do. So I really appreciate your time. You're such a genuine soul. I can feel it, even though we're cities apart. And
Yeah, I
I'm
appreciate
inspired by
that.
what you're doing. So I personally look forward to seeing what happens for you in the future and following you until you're gray and old and no longer allowed to teach anybody.
Yeah, when that day comes. Well, again, I really appreciate you. I love what you're doing here. It's something I wish I would have had access to. Yeah, and anybody feels like they're going through something similar or wants to talk about it, I'm always here to chat.